I'm almost disappointed not to be able to take further advantage of my temporary Vulcan abilities.
Strange New Worlds Season 3 delivers its first misfire, with an illogical Vulcan episode that has some fun moments, but ultimately feels like a letdown. Strange New Worlds has taken some pretty big swings throughout its tenure on Paramount+, and most of them have paid off with flying colors. While Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 3, Episode 8, 4.5 Vulcans, isn't bad, it feels like a step down from the earlier episodes of the season, especially after the excellent documentary episode, What is Starfleet? 4.5 Vulcans begins when the Enterprise receives a request for assistance from the Vulcan High Command to aid the Vulcans with a mission to the pre-warp civilization on Tezer. Captain Christopher Pike, Anson Mount, and several of his crew members turn into Vulcans. This process requires a serum made by the Kirkovians from Strange New Worlds Season 2, Episode 5, Charades, which saw Lieutenant Spock, Ethan Peck, turned into a human. In many ways, 4.5 Vulcans feels like a spiritual successor to Charades, as it features a similar plot full of Vulcan hijinks. However, the humor of 4.5 Vulcans didn't land quite as well for me, and I found myself asking questions the episode never addressed. Captain Pike and his crew make fascinating and illogical Vulcans. La'an, Christina Chong, Spock, Ethan Peck, Pike, Anson Mount, Chapel, Jess Bush, and Uhura, Celia Rose Gooding, as Vulcans stride down the hallway Strange New Worlds. Captain Pike, Lieutenant La'an Noonien Singh, Christina Chong, Nurse Christine Chapel, Jess Bush, and Ensign Nyota Uhura, Celia Rose Gooding, all take the serum to become full Vulcans. It doesn't work on Commander Pelia, Carol Kane, much to her disappointment. Spock accompanies Pike and the landing party, and they complete the mission to Tezer in record time. As the viewer, we don't get to see any of the mission to Tezer, which is slightly disappointing, but when the landing party returns, the serum meant to convert them back to humans doesn't work. Stuck as Vulcans, Pike, La'an, Chapel, and Uhura navigate their lives with their newfound logic, leading to numerous complications. Pike sabotages Captain Battel's, Melanie Scrofano, meeting with Admiral Pasok, Graham Somerville. Chapel cuts herself off from everyone and devotes herself to research. Uhura minds melds with Beto Ortegas, Minna Lucan, and La'an tries to start an intergalactic war. While some of these Vulcan attributes make sense for the characters, it doesn't fully track that turning into Vulcans would alter them in this way. The Vulcans we have seen throughout Star Trek do not act like this. 4.5 Vulcans sort of explains this by saying that Pike and his crew members Katras are still human, but it all feels, quite frankly, illogical. While the episode has some funny moments, it sometimes feels like it's making fun of Vulcans, and thus of Spock, which doesn't sit right. Kirk and Scotty make a great team. Scotty and Kirk staring at Vulcan La'an in confusion in Star Trek Strange New Worlds 4.5 Vulcans. Perhaps the best team-up of the episode comes when Lieutenant Commander James T. Kirk, Paul Wesley, visits the Enterprise and reconnects with Lieutenant Scotty, Martin Quinn. Upon his arrival via the transporter, Kirk greets Scotty, telling his future chief engineer to refer to him as Jim, considering their shared near-death experience in The Zealot Who Ate Its Tail. Kirk and Scotty then sit down for a drink with Vulcan La'an, who has developed an obsession with making the Enterprise as formidable as possible. La'an eventually decides she wants to start a war between all of the major powers in the galaxy, and Kirk and Scotty must find a way to stop her. Kirk and Scotty's interactions lead to some of the best scenes in the episode, as they quickly develop a rapport that bodes well for the pair's future. Paul Wesley, Martin Quinn, and the rest of the cast do a great job as usual, and the newly Vulcanized cast members give it their all and are clearly having a lot of fun. Uhura and Beto are adorable as always, and Vulcan Chapel's decision to cut everyone off makes perfect sense for her character. Pike and Battel are fine, but their storyline feels like a rehash of things the show has already covered, although it's nice to see Battel is feeling better after her Gorn scare a few episodes ago. Number 1 has a Vulcan X named Doug? Patton Oswalt as Vulcan Doug in Star Trek Strange New Worlds 4.5 Vulcans. When Pike, La'an, Chapel, and Uhura decide they wish to remain Vulcan, Number 1, Rebecca Romaine, and Spock meet with the rest of the senior officers to discuss their next steps. Una eventually reveals that she has a spiritualist Vulcan ex named Doug, Patton Oswalt, who is a Kutra expert. Thanks for watching.